All right, my sweet little ducklings. I just want very quickly to go over a couple of important research basics, things that I've seen students struggle with in the past. This is a great video just to help you reference later as you begin your essays. And I really want to make sure that you kind of don't make the same mistakes that your other friends have made in the past. Okay, so first and foremost, the first thing I want you to know is that when it comes to writing essays in English, we follow MLA formatting, which is the Modern Language Association. This is a move that our entire district has made. And so this is something that we will kind of review a little bit today. Some of this you may be familiar with, some of it may be brand new to you. So at any point, you're always welcome to kind of pause and review any of this. All right, now, first thing you need to know, Modern Language Association. This is a worldwide research formatting, research style. So this is not something exclusive to one state or even really one country. It's worldwide. It is put together by a group of researchers. It is consistently updated, so you always want to make sure that you're checking to make sure that you're up to date on your research. The reason that I want to specifically stress MLA is because later, as you begin your college careers, or even if you're writing research papers for other courses, sometimes they require APA formatting. So you want to make sure that you're following the correct one. So in this case, we're going to follow MLA. Now, why are we doing this, Ms. White? You are terrible and we hate you. No, it's because it's part of our Common Core standards. I'm not going to read all of this to you, but basically there's a couple things we have to be able to do. And one of them is to do a sustained research project, which is part of our symposium, part of our social justice project that we're going to be taking a look at. And also you have to be able to gather relevant information from multiple sources and know what to do with them. So this is a big purpose for us doing it. And I think you're really going to enjoy it when it's all finished. Okay, so let's start basic and simple. When it comes to MLA, there is a very specific format. And when I talk about format, it's the way a paper is laid out. So I have written out 5 key things, right? You have to begin 1 inch from the top of the paper. You have to flush it left. Make sure that on the top left-hand corner, you have your name, your instructor's name, the course name, and the date. Everything should be double spaced. Double space and center your title. Things to know, we are not underlining, bolding, italicizing, and nothing in the title. The title is in the same standard font as your entire paper. I think that's something we do in elementary school where we blow them up nice and big. But unfortunately, we do not do that in a formal setting. So the only time anything should be italicized is if you are italicizing a book, like in this case, The Great Gatsby. Otherwise, it is not italicized. We don't put a period or any punctuation regarding the heading or the title. And then you're going to double space between the title and the first line of your text. Okay, so what does all of that actually look like? Okay, so I'm going to give you what I would deem the single greatest cheat sheet in human existence. So here's what you're going to do, right? You are going to go ahead and you are going to open up a clean Google Doc. Now, we have seen Google Docs hundreds of times before, but basically what you're going to notice is I know a lot of us tend to ignore what's happening at the top with our templates, but there is something glorious here, and I want you to be able to see it. Click on the template gallery, and I want you to scroll down. Now, your template gallery, it might look more like this, and you'll have to do some scrolling, but go and scroll all the way down until you find the one that says education. Mine happens to be at the top because I'm a teacher. Yours might be at the top as well, so good. All right, you will find the one that says education, and then take a look over here. This is what makes it so awesome, right? Over here, we already have an MLA report, and so if you click on it, guess what they've done for you? They have absolutely laid everything out. So the number one thing that students struggle with is this initial layout, but guess what? It's all here for you in black and white, right? You can go through, you replace your name, you'll put Miss White, you'll put our English 2, and then you put the date. Things I want you to notice. The date is day, month, year. That's important. That's part of the MLA setting, right? You'll notice in the top right-hand corner, there's a page number. That's important. That's part of MLA formatting. Notice that there's double space, so 2 double spaces, and your title. The title is not bigger, the title is not bolder. This is exactly what your first page should look like. And so Google has given you a fabulous cheat sheet way of basically cutting corners. You don't have to remember everything because it's already laid out for you. So because it is laid out for you, I expect it to be done correctly. Now, if we were to go back and we need to look a little bit about citations, right? A citation is just basically the way that we say this is where we got our information, right? And so when we look at citations and we're doing research, we're going to pull a lot of information from a lot of different sources. And so the first thing we have to recognize is there's actually 2 different types of citations. And I have a copy of this for you. I'll show you kind of towards the end. But there are in-text citations and then there are works cited citations. So take a look at this beautiful image that I have for you. Again, I have a whole separate page for you. But anytime we're talking about in-text citations, right, we are looking at the way that you take that research and you put it in your paper, right? And you'll notice that I've got 2 different things here. I've got one example on the left and I've got one example on the right. Okay, so this is how it works. If, and we're going to use King right here, if you put the author's name in the sentence, so when it comes to technology, comma, King states that we, and then we quote it, then at the end, all you have to do is put the page number. This just tells me this is where I got my information. However, if you decide not to put his name in the text, because sometimes it'll get repetitive if you just keep saying King said, King states, King argues. So you want to change it up, right? If you are still directly quoting his phrase, then at the end you're going to put his last name, so King and the page 11. I want you to notice here there's no comma between the 2 of them. It is the author's last name and the page number. That is it. So you've got a little bit of flexibility. You can put his name in the sentence, in which case you only have to put the page number, or you can quote him and then cite his last name and the page number at the end. To cite is just to give credit. You are giving credit to somebody else's words, somebody else's phrases. Now, if you look down here at the bottom, this is what we call a works cited citation. And this tells me, hey, Miss White, this is who said it, this is where it came from. So if I want to go back and I want to read it or I want to look at it, you're telling me this is where I have my research from. And so at the end of every paper, you will always have a works cited page. And in this case, if you look over here, this is what a works cited looks like, right? Again, you'll notice a couple of things. Notice that over here we've got the author's last name and the page number. We've got works cited, that's your title. It's not bolded, it's not bigger, it's directly in the middle of the page. And then basically a works cited allows us to take all of the different places, all the different research we did, and we put it together in one place. Okay? But there's a couple of rules about a works cited. First thing, it will always be in alphabetical order. So Adams, Barnes, Cox, Dayton. It will always be in alphabetical order. It will always be double spaced. But what makes a works cited so important is they have something here called a hanging indent. And so what you will notice is when we look at Adams Amanda, her citation took up a whole line, right? It was short, it was sweet, it only stayed in one line. But Barney Barnes, his stuff went on to the next line. Once it goes on to the next line, you have to have what we call a hanging indent, which is pretty much equivalent to hitting the tab button, if we're being honest with you. It should be a 0.5 indent. And so what that does is it helps us stay organized and we don't get nearly as confused. Okay, everybody with me so far? All right, if you're feeling overwhelmed, this is what I want to show you next. If you go on Google Classroom, okay, so this is our normal class. You go on Google Classroom and you look under classwork, you will notice that I have everything organized for you. So here is my Google slide that I'm doing right this minute that I'm going over with you, okay? This is an MLA Easybib website. Y'all, this is beautiful. You can click on it and it will literally show you everything you need for MLA. It's a great resource. I absolutely encourage you to look at it. Then I gave you the MLA cheat sheet, and this is that beautiful page that I was showing you earlier, where basically what you'll go through is you can look at this is what happens if we use this name versus this is what happens if we don't. This is going to be really important because a couple weeks from now, when you finally sit down and put everything together, you're going to kind of need this little tidbit of information, okay? And then the last thing I want to show you is right here. This is the most important thing, and this is kind of one of my key reasons for showing you this video today, is because I want to show you what we call a citation generator. Okay, this thing is glorious, but it is a blessing and it is a curse. So you have to follow the directions carefully when I give you this information, okay? First and foremost, when it pulls up, you have to decide, are you citing a book? Are you citing a website? Are you citing a journal? They're all very different, and there's plenty more. Are you doing a newspaper? I mean, they give you everything you could possibly think of, okay? In most cases, most of us will either be citing journals or we'll be citing websites, but in case that you do find a book, maybe even if it's an ebook, make sure that you're following the correct format. Now, here's where it's a blessing and a curse. Let's pretend that I want to use this article from Edutopia. I like the article. I want to use it. The first thing that I want to do, let me see if I can move this up just a little bit for you. There you go. The first thing that I want to do is I want to copy, I guess in this case I want to copy the link, and then when I go back to my Easybib, I'm going to hit website and I'm going to paste it, right? And then I'll hit search. Now, here's the super cool part, right? Is that it brings up all the things. You go, oh yeah, this is great. This is exactly what I need. And so you hit cite. Okay, now the number one thing that you always have to make sure, and this is where it gets sticky, and this is where you want to make sure you've got the right things, is you need to go through and make sure that it all matches. Is this the title of the article? Let me go back and look. Using social justice to promote student voice. Using social justice to promote student voice. The URL is what you copied and pasted. What is the website? The website in this case, Edutopia. Okay, good, so that's correct. What is the website title? I'm sorry, the website title, Edutopia. What day did I access it? So this is today, June 11th. When was it published? June 2022. And it'll say, now we need to know who the publisher is. And so we have to go and we have to actually look and see, can we find the publisher? And the one thing I want you to notice is it doesn't actually have the author's name. Who is the author? So first name Lorena, but that's not her last name. We need to go back and make sure that we get her last name and that it's correct. Oops, I'm sorry. And that it's correct because we want to give her credit. She wrote this whole article, right? And so now we can hit complete citation. Now it's correct. Okay, now here's the last part. Make sure that when you click on this, you always hit MLA and then whatever the highest number is. So in this case, MLA 9, right? What it will allow you to do is now you can hit copy citation. We don't need that, thank you very much. Copy citation. And let's say I want to go back to my report, I can go back and I can put it in my Works Cited. Notice even Google, thank you very much, Google gods, even Google figured out, hey, we could put the Works Cited in here for you. Okay, now, first thing I want you to notice, right, I'm going to show you that one more time. The minute that I hit paste, it does not give me a hanging indent. It does not do it correctly. And so you want to make sure that you're fixing that hanging indent. You want to make sure that you've got that hanging indent perfect. And you'll notice it takes a little bit of time. Second thing I want to make sure you do, so go ahead and highlight our text. And you're going to come up here to this little line and paragraph button and just see where it says remove space before and remove space after. That's what we want to really make sure that we do, that everything is nice and clean. Now, this Edutopia article is probably not going to go all the way on this line, and that's okay as well. But I did want to show you more than anything else that the thing that I see my students do is they just get to going and they just go, oh, paste it and moving on, but that's not a hanging indent. So you want to make sure that you've got that hanging indent. The second thing I want to point out to you is you want to make sure that you're following these italics. Sometimes when you copy and paste them directly, that publisher won't be italicized. So you really want to make sure that you've got that done, you've got it done correctly.